Today, we're going to talk about how a tidal wave of data completely changed America's pastime. And we're going to do it by following the journey of one player, from a kid being scouted by algorithms all the way to a multi-million-dollar star whose every move is shaped by numbers. It's a story that really pulls back the curtain on the new science of baseball.
So, to really understand how our modern player even gets a shot at the big leagues, we have to rewind a little bit. You see, baseball has always been a game of numbers, but the kinds of numbers we use, and more importantly, how we use them, well, that has been completely revolutionized. It all started with really simple box scores, hits, runs, the basic stuff. Then, in the late 20th century, this new way of thinking called Sabermetrics came along and started asking, hey, are these the right stats to be looking at? That lit the fuse for the Moneyball era in the early 2000s, where teams like the Oakland A's used data to find hidden gems and just flat out win. And now? Well, now we're in the age of AI, with computers crunching millions of data points from every single game.
Okay, so let's get back to our player's journey. How does a team even find him in the first place? Well, in today's game, that classic old-school scout with a radar gun and a good gut feeling is now working alongside a data scientist who's running predictive algorithms. It's a whole new world for finding talent.
Yeah, it really used to be all about a scout's intuition, right? They'd watch a player, trust what they saw with their own two eyes, and check a few basic numbers. Now, don't get me wrong, that experience is still incredibly valuable. But today, it's combined with a mountain of data, some pretty advanced testing, and models that try to forecast a player's future. And the huge change here is that teams are now measuring things that used to be, well, invisible. They're testing how fast a player makes decisions, clocking their reaction time down to the millisecond, and using high-speed cameras to break down a swing frame by frame. But the real game changer? That's gotta be virtual reality. Think about this for a second. VR lets a team basically drop a teenage prospect into a simulation of the bottom of the ninth, World Series on the line, all before he's ever even signed a contract. It's a way to test not just his physical tools, but his mental toughness and how he processes things under insane pressure, all in a perfectly controlled lab. All right, so our player has been drafted. Awesome. But the journey is really just getting started. Now, his development is no longer just a coach saying, try this. It's become a precise scientific process, and it's all guided by one incredible piece of technology. And this is it, Statcast. This system is in every single Major League ballpark, using a combination of radar and high-tech cameras to track everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. It's the engine that powers modern baseball, from how a player trains to the strategies used in a game. And it all boils down to a few key measurements.
First up for hitters, you've got launch angle. It's just what it sounds like, the vertical angle the ball flies off the bat. The data showed, clear as day, that hitting the ball high in the air at a specific angle was the secret sauce for hitting home runs. This discovery kicked off the whole flyball revolution, which led to a massive spike in home runs, and yeah, a historic number of strikeouts too. Next is exit velocity, which is just how hard the ball is hit. It's simple physics, really. The faster the ball leaves the bat, the better its chance of finding a hole and becoming a hit. And Statcast measures this for every single swing of every single game. And on the other side of the ball, for pitchers, it is all about spin rate. A really high spin rate on a fastball doesn't actually make it rise, but it fights gravity so it drops less than a hitter's brain expects, creating this powerful illusion. For a curveball, more spin means a sharper, nastier break. It's what makes pitches so incredibly tough to hit. And this tech isn't just for the big league superstars. Down in the minor leagues, our players' progress is being tracked with affordable bat sensors and wearable tech. This data helps coaches tailor training for each guy, and this is huge. It helps them spot the players who are about to have a major breakout. Okay, so our player has used all this data to crush it in the minors, and he finally gets the call to the big leagues. He's playing great, and now it's time to get paid. But in this new era of analytics, how does a team even begin to decide what he's actually worth? This is the $1 million, or more like $100 million question. And teams, players, and agents are all trying to answer it. And I'll tell you what they're not using. They're not using batting average anymore. Instead, they're using these complex analytical models to put a number on a player's value. And the most important metric of them all is WAR, which stands for wins above replacement. It's a pretty complicated formula, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It tries to figure out how many extra wins a player gives his team compared to a replacement-level player. Like a totally average guy you could call up from the minor leagues for cheap. This number is at the very heart of player contracts now.
A super complicated negotiation, like salary arbitration, basically turns into a math problem. The team and the player's agent both project his WAR for next season. They adjust that for injury risk, they find similar players and what they got paid, and then they calculate a final salary based on what the market says 1 point of WAR is worth.
So our player got the contract. He's an established big leaguer. But the data doesn't stop once the check is signed. No way. Now it's used every single day to try and get a strategic edge on the field and, win more games. Before every game, you've got coaches and analysts huddled together, poring over these data visualizations. They're looking at things like heat maps and spray charts to see exactly where a batter is most likely to hit the ball, or what kind of pitches he just can't seem to lay off of. It reveals an opponent's habits with stunning clarity. And all that data leads directly to this, the defensive shift. I mean, if the charts show a batter hits the ball to the right side of the field 70% of the time, why on earth would you defend him the traditional way? You wouldn't. Instead, teams overload that side of the field, putting their fielders exactly where the numbers say the ball is most likely to go. It is the most obvious example of analytics changing the game right in front of our eyes. So, we followed our player's journey, from a prospect being analyzed by a computer all the way to a star, whose position on the field is dictated by data. So what does this all mean for the future of the game, and for anyone who wants to be a part of it? Well, for one, it's opened up this whole new world of career paths. Teams now have entire departments of data scientists, performance analysts, and software developers. Even agents have to be experts in analytics now if they want to get the best deals for their clients. The front office of a baseball team today looks more like a Silicon Valley startup than an old-school sports club. And this stuff isn't just for the pros anymore. The tools of the trade, like affordable sensors and open-source software, are now available to pretty much everyone, all the way down to amateur and youth leagues. This is helping to develop the next generation of players and, maybe even more importantly, to use data to monitor how much they're playing and help prevent injuries. And that brings us to one last big thought. We can now measure pretty much every physical action that happens on a baseball field. As data continues to unlock all the game's secrets, you have to wonder, what's left? What is that purely human element that's going to define baseball's future?